Oh, nice to see all of you here again. The sessions keep getting exciting, doesn't it? So let's keep the energy high as we welcome our next speaker, Miss Carolina Palombini. Hi, Carolina. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Tripti, and thank you for inviting me to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, thank you.
So, with over 15 years of experience in people development, Carolina is dedicated to humanizing the tech industry by fostering emotional intelligence. As a fractional CHR for software companies and a career mentor for tech professionals, he bridges the gap between recruiters' need and the tech mindset. She will share some amazing strategies on using emotional intelligence to excel in interviews. So, guys, be all ears to Carolina and take her guidance thoroughly. So, Carolina, I don't want to waste any more time of yours, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Tripti. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to Mastering Interviews with Emotional Intelligence. And what I would like to do now is to share my presentation. So, how can I share? Oh, it's here. Thank you, Tripti. Thank you, everyone. I see that a lot of people are here. I created this poll. So if you can see the poll, please answer them. Before we start, I want to know how much people here think they excel in mastering interviews. How many of you think you could still improve? And how many of you, it's actually not good? No, they're not good at this and need a lot of improvement. So I can see some votes here. And if you have any troubles, please reach out. So let's start by Tripti already explained why am I talking about this? But I just wanted to let you know that I am working with emotional intelligence development for over 20 years, and 15 of those years in the HR industry as CHRO in tech companies as well. So all this experiencing led me to mentor tech leaderships and to become a tech mind expert. So I'm specializing in understanding how the tech mind works, their most hardest time with recruitment candidates and their overall professional life. I also have this tech site, Tech Mind Inside. It's a podcast, it's LinkedIn content, it's a newsletter in LinkedIn, a newsletter in email, and also a community. At the end of this presentation, I want you to have these 5 steps to nail interviews. And I think that this strategy will work for you, even if you are a very analytical person, not very people oriented. It also works with introverts, so no need to worry about that. You can keep your employability high if you understand how to nail these interviews, because it will demand a lot of improvement from your emotional intelligence skills. And also, it's perfect to raise your self esteem just before you join an interview. So I can see here that 90% of you think you could improve your interview skills. So that's perfect. I think that room for imperfect and having a growth mindset, it's the best place to start. But let's start to explain a little bit of what is emotional intelligence. There are some misconceptions about this, and usually it's seen as being empathetic. Although empathy is part of the emotional intelligence framework, being emotional intelligent is much more than that. Daniel Goleman is known to be like the father of emotional intelligence, and he's been working with this and running research on this area ever since the 70s. And he said that emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, assess, control, and utilize your own emotions and those of others. And how can this actually help us in real life? And this is some data that I bring because since I am a tech mind expert, I know how technical people love data and love science-based approach. So I take this science-based approach to behavior, and emotional intelligence is the biggest predictor of success in any job. And that does not mean that hard skills are not important. That just means that when it comes to hard skills, most people, when they are candidating for a job, when they're job seeking, they have already very similar levels. So if you were selected from recruiters to be part of that process, if you already got the interview, they probably already checked if you had the hard skills necessary for that job. But emotional intelligence can really put you forward in your career and be you can put all your unique value proposition around your emotional intelligence. So let me just read these three very fast statistics. Emotional intelligence explains 58% of top performance. 90% of top performers are also high in emotional intelligence. And every point increase in emotional intelligence adds 1,300 to an annual income, to an annual salary. So I hope that this is enough for you to understand that it's important not just to make good interviews, but for your career, for your entire career. I just have 20 minutes here. Of course, I'm not going to explain this entire theory for you, but there are some things that are super important here to understand. This is the emotional and social intelligence model, as Daniel Goleman just updated recently. When we're talking about interviews, we are going to have a lot of self-awareness is needed for you to understand your strength, for you to understand your weaknesses and how to overcome them, and to also understand how you feel about interviews. In my experience, most tech leaders are not that comfortable. And I did some simulations with some clients that were practicing for this, and they were super good when they were explaining to me, like before the simulation, how they liked their jobs, how they thought that they could contribute. But once we started the simulation, they blanked, they became reactive because interview situations for this client of mine was a big deal. He didn't feel comfortable. So it's important for you to understand how you feel about this moment of your career journey. And the second step is to self-manage these emotions. So if I know I get nervous, what can I do to get back this emotional balance and to keep a positive outlook into my possibilities of being hired? Then we come to the social intelligence framework that has two domains: the social awareness and the relationship management. Social awareness is essential for a good interview because it connects with the interviewers. Either they are from HR, or if you are making the interview with the leader, with the owner of those of the job. And organizational awareness, so you can connect to company values, you can connect and understand what each of these stakeholders expect from you, how different it is to handle an interview with HR and with the person who will probably be your leader, your boss. And in the end, you're going to need to use relationship manage to, especially to influence the people that really have the power to make this hire, to hire you. And why is emotional intelligence so important for good interviews? Going a little bit deeper into what I've just said, emotional intelligence helps you nail the interview, because if you value your strengths, you know your strengths, you're able to value them, you're able to minimize your weaknesses, to manage your anxiety, to relate to your organization needs, and influence your recruiter. On the other hand, a lack of emotional intelligence can really ruin your interview, because when anxiety kicks in, you may have something called an emotional hijack. It's that moment when you knew you were prepared, you did your homework, but even though when the time comes, when the interviewer is in front of you, you blank. Also, you depend on a good interviewer to understand your value. If you know your value and you're ready to show them, you don't depend on good questions or on people actually finding that out during the interview. And you get caught by surprise with questions about the values of the company that you were not aware of. As a tech mind expert, I thought it would be super important for you to bring some of the obstacles I commonly find in my clients. Either they are at the C level or they are just starting their career journey, changing careers. I know that some of you here are moving from, are making a career change into the tech industry, and this should also apply to you. So tech professionals tend to have imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon, even at the highest rankings. They tend also to be too blunt and reactive in their communication, which can put this distancing between them and the interviewers. Not relate to the interviewers is like forgetting there is a person on the other side. That person works in that company and you should be relating to them. Another common obstacle is not make questions regarding culture and leadership. Technical people are usually very thorough in their questions when it comes to project delivery, when it comes to how challenging the projects are, but they totally forget to ask about culture and leadership. And it turns out people, it's more likely you quit your job because of your boss, your leadership, or a toxic culture than actually because you found that the project was not that challenging or interesting. And how can you develop emotional intelligence for job seeking and interviews? I separated this in several strategies so you can try them all. I don't have time to go over all of them, but I can tell you that in self awareness, having a personality assessment is super valuable. I recommend that you can use free ones like 16 personality, or you can use DISC, which is a paid version, but more directed to work related aspects. You can also ask feedback for people who worked with you with candid feedback about your strengths and about your weaknesses. In order to manage your anxiety, you can try mindfulness and breathing strategies. I recommend the square breathing strategy. You can find that on YouTube. There are many therapists teaching that. It's super simple, and you can do it just before the interview. And if the anxiety is really overwhelming, I recommend actually getting better support like therapy or support groups. When it comes to social awareness, be thorough in reading the job descriptions and the company website. There are also talent reports from famous consultancies like Michael Page. They talk about what companies expect from their surveys, and also the LinkedIn profiles and posts from people who work at that company. What are they talking about? We know that people on LinkedIn, they tend only to say good things about the companies they're working for, but what good things they're not mentioning and that are super important for you? It's like asking for a recommendation or a reference. Of course, the person will never say something bad about you, but what are the adjectives that are used and not used to make these recommendations? And we have relationship management. And to develop that, you can use a networking strategy on LinkedIn with the people that worked in that company, and also share and engage in content from that company. Let me see if I have Q&As. So I have a question here. Thank you for presentation. Could you give us some examples of good culture and relationship and leadership questions to use in an interview? Okay, I'll leave that to the end then, Humberto, and I'll have this opportunity to meet afterwards in a lounge area where you can send me the questions. So I'll just finish here and I will go to the Q&A in the end. So what does it mean to be emotionally intelligent during an interview? Quick recap. know your unique value proposition, studying the organizational needs, managing anxiety, and having your pitch ready. So write your pitch, your pitch down, practice it. It means that you have just to answer this question. Your pitch is just answering this question. Why am I a good candidate for this specific job opportunity? This, I'm not going to read the entire pitch, but this is a pitch, a candidate pitch template. And if you want me to send these slides to you, in the end, you find my email and you just send me an email and ask me for the slides, and I'll send you this pitch. But the important thing to understand is that you're going to mention very specific things about your professional background that matches the job advert. So you're actually doing the recruiter's job by finding those matches. And here's some do's and don'ts, which I think I could not leave this presentation without showing you some do's and don'ts. Don't. Please give examples. Not giving examples of your accomplishments is something that will turn your interview very poorly. Not smiling or having poor body language, speaking tech with non-technical interviewers, and lack of enthusiasm. And please do start with your pitch. And what do I mean by that? Usually the interviewer will make you an open question as the first question during the interview. So instead of answering direct, you can answer using your pitch and then go back to the specific questions the interviewer has for you. Ask about the culture, the values, ask about leadership structure, ask how they will measure your results in 6 months. This shows a lot of commitment and responsibility. And ask how the interviewer likes to work there. So this is very important. It usually takes the interviewer by surprise, and that's a good thing. So you get an honest reaction. So going again the step by steps. Make a self-assessment, find your strengths and weaknesses, study the market, create your unique value proposition as a candidate, study the specific job opportunity, find that match between you, your value proposition, according to the entire market that you studied, then study the specific job opportunity, find this match, and create your pitch. And thank you. Now I have like 2 minutes for questions, and I will get the question from Humberto. Humberto asked me to give some examples of good culture and leadership questions to use in an interview. So as a leader, you should be worried about your employer proposition, your employer brand. So what is it that you're offering for these people that want to join your team that they could not find anywhere else? What is your unique value proposition as a leader? So I'll give my example. I was, as head of HR, I am a very dynamic person. I need people who are dynamic and fast-paced as I am for things to run smoothly. This is the question that I would include in my interviews, that I included in my interviews. How do you handle fast-paced environments? How have you handled? Leaders should make questions using the past, asking people how they've done something in the past instead of how they imagine they would do in a certain situation. Please send me those questions afterwards, or send me from DM on LinkedIn, and I will answer this with a little more examples and specificity. And Leonardo just answered one question. One of the best presentations. Oh, thank you, Leonardo. He's saying, one of the best presentations that I attended on behavior in job interviews. Carolina, your presentation helped me a lot to understand how I should behave and prepare for interviews. Thank you very much for your time, and it was on stage. Oh, thank you, Leonardo. Thank you very much. So if there's not any more questions, I just thank you all for being here, and reach me out on LinkedIn or by email.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carolina. That was amazing. And you did share a lot of knowledge on emotional intelligence. I think a lot of people don't see that side, when they're preparing or going for interviews. So thank you so much for bringing this up and sharing the insights with our attendees. I'm pretty sure this will be of great benefit to all of them. And once again, we are so pleased to have you join us today in the session. And like she mentioned, guys, if you have any further questions, you can meet her at the table in the lounge area and you can connect with her.
Bye bye,
Thank
everyone. See you on
you.
the
Bye
lounge
bye.
area.